what strategy or strategies are appropriate for us today as we consider the mission of the church? How ought we approach the world in our own cultural moment? The church is an irrelevance as far as most Westerners are concerned. You might be able to, it might have some value to the wider society, or it might just be getting in the way, but it's not a major player. It's not that important. 5 approaches, along with my unabashed opinion. And again, if you don't like it, swell, don't worry about it. This isn't dogma. I just want to help you see how I think it out. Well, one popular approach I'm going to call Neo-Constantinian. Christians ought to try to seek ways where we can still be useful to wider society. So we can sign up for causes and help efforts of the wider society to make it better. We can help promote justice. We can help promote prosperity. It lets Caesar set the terms, and we just want to be relevant. And the goals are the world's goals. You can see this is close to assimilationism. And this is what Newbegin's writing to help resist the gospel in a pluralist society. Pluralism has reduced the church to a trifle, has reduced the church to a personal preference that some people have. Another approach I'm going to call Paleo-Constantinianism. It's pretty nostalgic. Let's try to go back to the good old days. Try to reclaim the civil power and authority and prestige that the church once had. There was a day when the Holy Roman Emperor couldn't get away with stuff because the church would just excommunicate his country, what's called interdict. They would just excommunicate the whole country until the king relented. And the country's like, we kind of want to be saved. Could you get back on track? And the king would get back on track. Those were the good old days. So Paleo-Constantinians want to get back to those days by trying to reclaim what's been lost. Make America the Christian nation it used to be. Make Europe the Holy Roman Empire again. That's a political strategy, right? That's a missional strategy. Or here's another approach. I'm going to call it Hypo-Constantinianism. Hypo means under, right? Hypodermic, everybody's favorite word. A missionary strategy would be to withdraw from the public realm and just look for converts, private, on the down low converts. To withdraw into private spirituality. You might call that revival, but it really leaves the wider culture unaffected. America can continue its descent into paganism. Jesus is coming anyway. In the meantime, we go under the radar and look for converts. A fourth strategy, these are getting away from the red zone, but they're really not green yet, so you're not getting where my heart is. Anti-Constantinianism thinks of this legacy of a fusion of church and state, or an alliance of church and state, as the great evil that ruined everything. The Christian church was growing and it was doing all right until Constantine co-opted it. And his successors even more thoroughly co-opted it. That's when everything went wrong. This is called the Constantinian fall of the church. And really what we need to do is go back to being the countercultural church of the first few centuries. Before the church had worldly power, before it had worldly prestige, that's when we were powerful. Mennonites are pretty anti-Constantinian because they suffered at the hands of both Constantinian Protestants and Catholics. in the 16th century. The problem is, I'll forward one of Newbegin's points, since you're getting familiar with him. The problem is, when the Roman Empire collapsed in the 6th century, just really collapsed, there was only one institution that had the integrity and the memory and the power to keep the lights on, to keep people fed, to maintain the general welfare, and it was the church. And what was it supposed to do? Just walk away from that? What does it mean that that Jesus reigns over the kings of the nations? What does it mean? What happens when a ruler or when a whole society says, Jesus is Lord? Does anything happen? Does that create a possible Constantinian moment, however temporary? I think anti-Constantinianism is a little too reactionary. So I'm going to give you this as a strategy. Constantinianism. I'm going to recommend that the church pursue the original politics of being the way of Jesus Christ. And we see what happens, and we never get too attached to a particular cultural moment or a particular cultural inheritance or a particular success or a particular failure, because none of those necessarily last. They can be genuine, but they're not eternal. Gonna have to leave that undeveloped because we're out of time.